What's going on, guys? You got Kwasi here for Kwasi Media Network and Kwasi Animation Studio, where you presently are. Right now, we're in lesson 2. Yes, lesson 2. Lesson 2 is animation, posing, and keyframing. So we're going to keep this thing pretty simple, and we're going to get straight to it. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and pull up our Blender. Okay. So we're going to do a simple pose and a simple action. Okay, so again, not going to use any pose libraries or whatnot. So as of right now, I have a sequencer, which I'm not going to be using, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that. I have an action editor and then our animation screen here. Okay, so I want to actually use the camera to view the character through. So I'm going to make sure the depth of field is turned off, which it is, and then I'm going to go ahead and set the camera up the way I want it to be set up. So let me make sure that lock to view is on, and we're going to hit Control-Alt-0, because what I want her to do is float from a certain point, and then we're going to zoom up to her face. So we have 120 frames here, okay, and that's what we're going to be using. All right, so now the next thing is to, so in the in the NLA editor, we have her rig is selected, and there's a track available. Okay, so we're going to select that track and make sure it says replace and not add, and make sure it says hold. All right, and then I'm going to create a new action. Now you don't have to automatically do that. You can just select everything and go location, rotation. Some of these bones are location bones and other bones are rotation bones. So for right now, we're going to turn off the camera stuff so that those things are not in the way. All right, now since I already selected everything, now we're going to go ahead and pose her by turning auto key on, and then we hit 1 on the key on a keypad, and then we're going to position our arms accordingly. Okay, so hopefully you actually went and worked on getting accustomed to your armature, whatever that armature is, and then follow along. Okay. All right. Don't forget to save. All right, let's hit 1, see what it looked like. Okay, cool. All right, so here I'm going to go back into global mode on transformations. I'm going to hit the microphone to both foot bones, and I'm going to rotate this downward. And then I'm going to come back up to the top, and then I'm going to turn them outward. Okay. All right. I'm going to select her. Go to the location bone. We're going to select her pelvis bone. I'm going to push her up a little bit because I want to look at the actual position they're in. Okay. Go back to our rotation gizmo. I'm going to hit 1 on the numpad. And I'm going to push her feet out to a certain point. Okay. All right, so no one's going to necessarily be sitting straight up, so I'm going to click her first spine bone underneath the chest bone. Even if you're using a regular Xenoverse model, it'll be the same way. We'll lean her head forward her neck, and then her head down. Nope. We're going to lean her head down because she's going to be looking down. Okay, so we want her looking down on this first pose. Let's make the neck go further down. All right. And in this case, you want to make a fist with her hand. We're going to make the first fist, keep it real simple. So just what I tend to do is 90 degrees on these. So we're going to hit Y 90, and then R Y 90, and then again R Y 90. Okay, so it keeps it simple. This way you don't have to sit there, just remember it's simple math. Okay. So again, RY90, enter, and then we'll grab the last one. Messed up on that one. This is the last one. All right, boom. Okay, so that's done there. All right, so then here I'm gonna grab this bone out here. I'm gonna pull it out a little bit because it won't be the same. grab this one, and we're going to go back to local, because I want to spin it on the Y, on the X, and then we're going to use the Z. We're going to hit RZ45, and then the next one do the same thing, RZ45. Okay. So again, remember, Blender is all about math. So we see that we have our fist there. Make sure that our hand is where we want it to be. All right. So in this case, I know I'm going to want this to be a little bit farther forward because she's going to be coming down. So I'm going to turn her wrist out. Okay. All right. So again, this is about getting used to the models. Okay. All right. So now, for the sake of it, I'm going to go ahead and move forward some. I'm going to go ahead and go to my hand gestures, and I'm just going to make sure that both hands are fisted. Okay. All right. So don't worry about if you don't have a pose library. I'm just showing you how easy it was to make a fist. So the fists are still the same. I just wanted to go ahead and transfer to the other one also. Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. So don't forget to save. All right. Now I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. Because again, she's dropping, she's going to be dropping down. All right. Okay, so now I want her to be up a little bit higher than this. So we hit 1, and then we're just going to kind of find that space. So I'll put it right about there. No, not high enough to that one. Okay. All right, so now we're going to select everything, make sure everything's selected, location, rotation, and we're going to come out to frame 20, and we're going to hold. Okay. The only thing I'm going to deselect this bone. Okay, the pelvis bone. I'm going to deselect it, and then I'm going to hit location, rotation again, and then this time I'm going to go to 60 because we wanted it in 2 seconds. I'm going to click the pelvis bone. I'm going to hit 3, and then I'm going to push it down just above the plane. Okay. All right. Now here also, because I have all of these bones right here are all set at 20, I'm going to have her legs bend back a little bit here, but I'm going to stretch this one out forward. So it's just a decision I'm making randomly. So at 40, and then here, I'm going to have her knees go back some. So we're going to go back to global, rotation, hit 3. I'm going to have the legs go back just a little bit, okay, because she's hovering. All right. And then in this case also, because usually what I do is I'll create my last pose first, but I didn't do it this time, so forgive me for that. So here I'm going to select her head and her neck. Okay, I'm going to go back to local, and then I'm going to hit Alt-R. All right, because I want her to be looking up, but I'm going to bend her head down just ever so slightly. So I'm going to hit 3 so I can see it straight from the side. And I'm going to do the same thing with her neck, just slightly. I'll bring her head back a little bit more. All right, cool. Okay, so now even here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select her arms right here, and I'm going to hit R again. So I know this is not how I want them to be, but I'm going to fix that shortly. Just give me a second. Okay. All right. Okay, so you see how it looks like she's leaning forward some? That's because of the spine bone. So we're going to fix that here shortly. Okay, so I'm going to lean that back also, so she seems a little bit more relaxed. All right, another thing also is that we're going to hit Alt-R again on the wrists. And then this time, we're going to leave her hands fisted. Okay, so now let's look at our playback. We'll look at it through the camera. Okay, so that's a simple animation. All right, so now the next thing is that I want to do is I'm going to select her pelvis bone. And right here in the action editor, I'm going to hit V. Now you have different handle types. You have set keyframe handle type, and then which is free, align, vector, automatic, and clamped. So they automatically are clamped, which gives you this ramping that happens where you see it kind of start slower than end slow. Okay, I don't want that, so I'm going to hit V again. I'm going to go to vector. Vector, if we open up and create, sorry, my bad. If we create a graph editor, don't forget to save. We go into my graph editor. Okay, so if I go into my graph editor, you'll see that it's in Bezier. I'm sorry, hit T. It's in Bezier, but the difference is if I select everything and I hit V and I go clamped, you'll see a curve. So you see that curve there? That's on the Y. Okay, so if I select it again and go vector, it's still Bezier, but the difference is it gives me a linear effect with the curvature. All right. So now if we go back and we go into that view, it comes straight down. Okay. All right. So now what I want to do is this is going to be the end of that animation. All right. But I'm going to give this animation a bounce starting from 70. So I'm going to select everything and I'm going to, matter of fact, I'm going to select everything at 60, hit location rotation and go to 70. And this time I'm going to go to 70 on the pelvis and I'm going to do another location. Okay. In this case, I'll do location rotation because this way it'll stay with symmetry involved. All right, I'm going to go to the side and I'm going to move it up ever so slightly 20 frames. I'm sorry, 20 frames. So we're going to go 20 frames and go up. And then I'm going to go 20 frames again and it's going to go down. Okay. All right, so I don't want it this way, so I'm going to delete this one and I'm just going to take this back 40 frames. Uh-oh. Wrong button. Negative 40. Sorry, I did that wrong. We're going to take it this from, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase this. Let's slide this back to 80, from 60 to 80, from 80 to 100 to from 80 to 120. So we're going to click. I'm going to copy and paste the 80th keyframe to 120. And now we have an up-down motion. Okay. So now also with this motion, what I want to do is I'm going to select it. And I'm going to select everything here, but I'm going because over here you can deselect your bone. So I'm gonna select it so it come in. I'm gonna hit N, and then I'm going to go to the bone that's going up and down, which should be, excuse me, well it says Y, so it should be the Y. I'm gonna go to modifier. I'm gonna noise, and then I'm gonna take it on, since it's the scale is 1, I'm going to make the scale 10 and the strength 0.03, and then I'm going to give it a depth of 3. Okay, so now let's look at that playback from the side, and it gives it like a little bit of variation once it hits, so it's not just automatic. Okay, all right, so I'm going to bump this up to 0.1 because I want to see what it looks like. Okay, I don't like that. So I'm gonna go back 0.3. I'm gonna get rid of this. Let's say 0.1. Yeah, so 0.3, and then just see what it gives me. Yeah, so it gives me a nice little rotation that already exists, but it breaks it up a little bit. So if we look at it from the front, okay, so how her arms slowly come down, that's what we really want. So of course, frame dropping is on, and then follow is on. Okay, so this way it almost gives us the exact frame rate. All right, so this is me looking at it through the window, through the camera. All right, so now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push this down. Okay, then I'm going to add another one, and then in that addition, I'm going to hit the N key. I'm going to hit add. This is in the LA editor, and at 60. Okay, because I want her head to start turning. Okay, I'm going to go to 60. My rotation tool, hit I and rotation only. Okay, and then I'm going to go 16, and I'm going to have her look elsewhere. All right, so again, this is about understanding your armature. I'm going to hold for 16 frames. I'm going to hit rotation again, and then I'm going to turn again in 16 frames. Okay. Oh, wrong button. Excuse me. Okay, so now with that being done, what I want to do here is I want that to work the way it's working, but let's look at it through the camera. I'm going to turn off the overlay. Okay, so she's looking around as she comes down. All right, so now to give some variation, all right, so these are just simple animations. We'll get into larger iterations after the fact, so we don't want to give you too much to deal with. But again, this is about practicing those types of things, practicing little bitty things. Okay, so that's a simple action right there. So, and again, you see easily how to keyframe, how to input small actions and whatnot. So I'm going to push this down, and now that's ready to go, and it will work all together. Let's go back to the layout. Let's turn the camera back on. Okay, going to turn the overlay off, and then we're going to watch it from the camera view. Okay, so there you have it, just a simple action. But what I want to do here is animate the camera. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's go back. I'm going to hit I, location rotation, and then for the camera, I'm going to have it as it comes down by 60. We're going to be pushing towards her. Okay, and then I'm going to hit V vector because I want it to be a simple action. And then as she gets ready to look, I want it to basically zip to her face in the first 10 frames, so from 60 to 70. So I'm going to click her bones, click here, and then push the camera hard. All right, so this way now when I push it, we can go kind of to her front end. Okay, so it'll, all right, so now with that being said, I'm going to slightly turn it. So it's like, and then she's going to look the other way. And in that case, I think so I'm going to select from this 10 frames between 85 and 95. I'm going to copy paste, and then when it turns, we'll just turn that way, and I'll slide back just ever so bit, or a little bit. So I'm going to pick everything, hit V, and go vector. Okay, now to add some variation of movement, I'm going to show you a little trick. Okay, so you're going to excuse me, push down your object transform, go to your X, go to the side here. When you hit N, hit your side panel, go to modifiers, go to noise again. We're going to go 60, and then in the strength 0.3, and then I'm gonna add variation of like a depth of 2 and keep the range like it is. And you're going to come back up to the top here, and this first one that says copy of modifiers, we're going to copy it, and we're going to paste it to the Z. Okay, so now give us a variation, and then we'll come into our playback, turn everything off. All right, go zoom in a little tighter, and then we look at our playback, and it gives us a little bit of variation. So it's just simple stuff like that we can do certain things. So let me bump this up. I'm going to add 40 frames. So play back. The camera still move, even though it's because I never did push it down. So let's say I take this all the way to there, and I can just hit control. I'm sorry. I can hit location rotation, and it'll give me that same thing all the way down. When I push the camera down, go back into, let me delete this animation. All right, so that's there. Now when we play, there you go. Simple actions. And since she's no longer going up and down, it's just a matter of just being able to. But anyway, so yeah, I'm not going to overtalk that. So I hope that they help someone. In the next one, we're going to talk about adding more and more things to each animation. So we use the same animation we already have, and we'll add other things to it. Maybe some more hand actions. Maybe she'll finally land and then walk. Might even add another person. So we'll get to lesson 3. We'll start building on a scene. So basically, I'll bring a scene in, and then we'll use, like I said, this animation to for her to enter the scene, basically. Okay, so I hope they help with someone, and nothing but love.